As of now, we have taken one EC2 instance. On top of that, we have installed required things which are related to container and container orchestration. And while we are setting up a cluster, we need to execute few things. These are the things we need to configure. So as a Ubuntu user, you must create a folder called .cube, where in the current working directory. In the current working directory, if you look at, there is no .cube folder here. You must create. How to create that? With the help of mkdir. You can execute this command or you can create manually, like mkdir space .cube. So what we did, we created a empty folder in the current hidden directory we created, empty hidden directory we created. Then we need to copy the configuration file to the newly created folder as config file. For that, you need to execute this command. Successfully, we have copied a file from /etc/Kubernetes to .Kubeadm as a config file. We copied a file as a Ubuntu user. Then we need to change the permissions on hidden folder. As of now, if you look at hidden folder is on user called Ubuntu. If you go inside of that, instead of going inside of that, let me list it. .Kubeadm Cube has file called config. It has a root ownership. You need to change that with the help of chowner. After that, if you verify, we have changed ownership, group ownership on this file with the help of chowner command. 3 commands we executed. First command created a hidden directory as part of Ubuntu user own directory and copied admin.conf to the newly created directory as config file. And this file is copied since it is from etc Kubernetes folder. The ownership on this file is root and the group ownership is also root. So that we change with the help of change owner. Then you must switch as root user now. As a root user, you must export this variable as a root user. Sudo su export. After export, exit from there. Now who you are? You're a normal user. You switched as sudo user, you exported a variable and you came back to the normal user. 4 commands we executed. Now it's a time to set up a network. A network need to be configured. Which network? Pod network. If you want to run a containers on this cluster, now what we did? We created this cluster. This cluster is provisioned now. I'll show you cluster information. kubectl - kubectl space info. It's a cluster info. Cluster -info. You see? Cluster info. Typo error. 1 minute. Cluster -info. This is a Kubernetes cluster we have created. A control plane has been created. That means this red color layer has been created. Cluster is created, but you cannot run containers. To run containers, you need a network. The network is called pod network. You need to set up a pod network. To do the pod network, you need to execute one of this command. You should go here. You will find a lot of networks. You can use one of the network of your choice. Once you go here, you will have a lot of networks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lot of networks are there. So one of the network you must use to spin up your pod network. Once you spin up your pod network, you will be able to run containers.